'cause your opinion don't matter. This a maniac is gonna step on whomever.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, SMARONENINE. So in today's video, we are going to do another tutorial. We're going to do part 2 to my getting to know the editor. I've already done part 1, and I've already done setting up the editor and installing the spin mod. If you guys haven't checked these 2 videos out, I highly recommend them before you continue on with this one. So without any further ado, let's jump right back in the editor and finish up this little teeny series. So here we go. So here's our map that we were working on, tutorial map. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And here we go. So I'm going to hit these little pin buttons and give ourselves a better workspace. Okay, so a couple of things that I didn't show you guys in the part 1 video to do with the model is if I click on the model and I right click and I hit duplicate and bring this over, I'm just doing this to show you a couple of little things on this piece that I didn't show in the last video. So I showed you what all these accesses do: up, down, back, forth, side to side, and then these little wheels, you can roll it and do all this kind of stuff. What I didn't show you guys was if you click just in the yellow, I think I showed you that, but if you zoom in and you got these little squares that light up right here, this is just to freely move it around. I don't think I showed you guys that. And this little diamond in the middle, I don't think I showed you that in the last video either. So what that does, if you highlight it and hold your left clicker, it'll just shrink the model and enlarge the model. With models, I highly recommend never upscaling anything, only because in the game it makes the model look terrible. So never upscale, especially with rocks or anything like that. The only thing I would upscale is maybe trees. Other than that, never a model, nothing. It just makes them look very bad. Okay, so let's get into this video. So in the first video I showed geometry, materials, locators, models. So today we'll start with plants. So with plants, you can either, like with any other thing, you can right click up here and add the plant, or you can right click anywhere on the map, add plant. And what this does is it just takes a single distribution. So you can kind of get creative with how you lay out trees and stuff like that. So if I wanted to make like a dressed up little area here, I can click that, I can duplicate it, move it over, turn it, just do all kinds of different things. If I want to precisely lay trees out or make like a tree line or something like that, I mean, you can get really creative with the plant distribution. So that's just another little trick, but I usually use this. I usually add plants and stuff when I'm finishing up a trail, and I'll show you that when we get into advanced trailing and some of my more advanced tutorials. But with these, everything here works the same, except you can't go up and down with it unless you come down here and where it says do land and switch true to false, and then you can go under, then you can lift the tree up and stuff like that. I do use this technique a lot, especially on inclines with geometry, and I'll show you that as well once we get going a little bit. But that's pretty much it for plants. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, works pretty easy if you want to put a plant in a precise spot, because when you have distributions, it's hard to paint close to stuff, especially if I want one bush sitting here, I couldn't paint it. It wouldn't go where I want it to. So it's a useful tool, especially if you're building certain things and stuff like that. Okay, so distributions. So again, you can right click up here, or you can right click anywhere and just go down to add distribution. Once you do, it's going to be the same thing. So you got map, and you got to slide over and just click right in this spot, and 3 little dots will appear. And then this is where you name what you're going to add. So you always want to start with DSTR underscore, and then you can name it whatever you want right here. We're going to add bushes, so I always name my stuff the same thing. So I'm just going to go bush 1. In case I want to add a different one after, I can go bush 2. And then you always got to end it with .tga. And then just hit enter. And then down here, ignore overlays, ignore water, ignore mud. I switch all of these to true. So now I can paint over overlays, I can paint underwater and on mud. And then you want to pick your distribution. So we're going to do bushes. So I'm going to click this, and you're just going to find bushes. So it's right there. So you can either double click it, double click it, or you can click it once and just push the arrow. I never add more than one distribution per distribution, and I'll explain that in a few minutes as we get going. But okay, so there we go. So with the value and the size, obviously it's the same thing as the last video. Anything above 50. So we'll go up to 75, bring this down to about 2.2, and we'll just paint in a little bit of distributions here. Some bushes. So I'll just kind of go around the garage a little bit. And you can also go randomize, and it'll kind of do that, and it'll just kind of spawn them in certain areas. But with bushes and stuff, I usually just keep them on full. Yeah, so we got a little bit of bushes out, and as you can see, they don't look very good because you got to right click, rebuild, and save. Remember, do that after everything. And there we go, everything's got shadows. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add another distribution. This time we'll do some trees. So DSTR underscore tree1.tga. I'm going to switch all these to true. My go-to tree type is always spruces. That's my favorite one. I think they look the best. I'll leave that right on the same thing. We'll go like this. And I'll show you why I only add one style of plant per distribution in just a second. Alright, so there's our trees, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add another one. DSTR underscore tree2.tga. Enter. And then we're going to go true, true, true. And this time I'm going to select firs. And I'll do the same thing. Just paint a little bit. I've been doing the same thing with I do this with my distributions all the time. And I'll show you just in a second as soon as we save this. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and rebuild and save. Okay, so right now, every tree is basically the same height. Except for a couple. You got a couple that are a little taller, a little shorter, but for the most part, they're all the same height. They're all the same, they all look the same, more or less. So this is why I add more than, I only put one per thing. I never double anything up. I might double up like debris and stuff like that, but that's about it. So with spruces, this was the first one we added. You'll see right here it says density. That's how thick it's going to be going on. But what we want to switch to is scale. And then I'm going to put this all the way up to 100. Bring this up a little bit, and I'm not going to do everything right here. I'm just going to, a couple of them, I'm going to kind of dab around. I usually save this for when I'm just about all done the map, but because this is a tutorial and we're just doing this, I'll show you how I do it. But I'm going to bring it all the way down now, and I'm going to kind of dab a few more. Dab a few more here. This just helps bring a little realism to the map. And then I'm going to click on firs. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring that all the way up. And I'm just going to kind of randomize this around. Whoops. And bring this all the way down. Alright, so now we'll hit that. We'll rebuild and save. Save, and now if I scroll in at my trees, now you can see they're all really different sized. So we got some really small trees here, some really tall trees. It just really adds variety to the trees, you know, rather than have them all look the same height. So it makes the map, just in my opinion, look a lot more realistic. And that's what I'm always trying to shoot for when I make a map. So that's just a cool little technique. But like I said, with the scale tool, I usually save that for when I'm just about done the map, you know. Okay, so before we move on to overlays, I'm going to go ahead and grab my paint tool real quick. And I'm just going to kind of finish this little driveway area a little bit. Kind of get it looking like a spawn. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll just, like I said, it's just a tutorial map. All right, so now we got like a little bit of a spawn. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys a little bit of overlays. So what overlays is, it's if you right click again anywhere on the map, just right click and hit add overlay. All of these are like pre-made roads, so you don't have to draw your own roads, you just have to scale them. You just have to lay it and add it. So kind of my go-to is always grass road or dirt road right here. But we'll go with grass road. So we'll click that, hit OK. And I want to show a little trick with the overlay. So when you're laying this down, I've been asked this before in the past. So when you're ready to lay your road, you just right click in this square box and you go add after, and it'll add another spot. If you go add after, it'll add another spot, and so on and so on. So you just keep doing that, and you can kind of draw out your road, how you want your road to be, and all of that good stuff. Now what a lot of people do, because you can see it numbers it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By the time I finish one path, like if I was doing this, I could have up to 700. And I've been asked in the past, why do you do so many add afters? And I'll show you why. Okay, so let me get this up to about 10 to 12 of these just really quick. Add after, add after. Okay, so that's pretty good for now. Alright, so moving on, we'll do some rivers. So I ain't going to make a river, but I will do a pond. So back in the day, I used to just lower this down, build this up, and I would just go like this. And then I'll hit my button, and then that will all be sunk. But the problem is with that, it's hard to see because everything is the same grass. So the new way I do this now is I'll take the dirt tool, and you can do this with the tint tool as well. You can do it with the tint, but on grass it don't really show up very good. So I'll take the tint tool, my materials tool, and I'll kind of draw out how I want the pond to look. So we'll just kind of go like that. It doesn't have to be fancy, we just need basically the outline. And now if I take my geometry tool, now I know exactly where I want to lower the ground to put my water in. Just like that. Might be a little deeper than I want it to be. And obviously all this is underwater, so it don't really matter what it looks like. But if you're picky and you don't want it to be so rigid and bumpy like that, you can always just take the flatten tool and you can sit here and flatten it all out if you want. But it's underwater, I wouldn't really worry about it too much. Okay, so adding water, same thing, just right click, add river. And we want to grab these little blue dots, or you can come up here and put the plus and just click on the 0 or the 1. We'll go ahead and click on the 0, and we'll click on the 1. And right here with this little diamond, just stretch that out. You want to cover the whole spot. And I plan to do advanced tutorials on mud, water, river making, all the different tools individually. I plan on making an advanced tutorial on one specific tool. And I'll go into way more detail with each one when I do those tutorials. So this is just a quickie to show you guys how they work. So you'll notice if I push the button, the water is nowhere near where I want it to be. So what I'm going to do is, I don't work with both of them, I just work with one. So we'll click on 0. And I'm going to bring this up till I get right about where I want. If you go too high, it's going to go like that. It'll be kind of an overflow. So just go down until it gets to a good level, like so. And rather than sit here and try to line this up and get it perfect with the other side, the easiest way to do this really is just to click on 0, come down here to its position, and hold your left mouse key and copy the whole thing. Right click, copy, and then go ahead and push the 1, highlight the whole thing, right click, paste. And then when you click on the white, you'll notice that both the 1 and the 0 in the same spot. So just grab the 1, grab this little red, and just slide it over. And then you can grab the square and kind of put it where you want it to be. And there you go. Now it's perfectly even. It's the same height on both sides, and it's perfect. So now you can obviously play with the geometry around it if you want. And you can start lifting up the sides and just get all fancy with it and stuff like that, however you want it. To change the color, you just highlight the river and you come down here. I don't know what above references is. I never use that. I never use flow. I've never used references. So the only thing I ever mess with is clean and muddy type. And actually muddy type, I leave it brown all the time, but you can change that, but I don't know why you would. What that means is when a truck drives into it, the ground dirt is going to turn, the water's going to turn muddy, like brown. And that's what you want. That's realistic. You don't want it to turn blue. So clean type, that's what the water will look like all the time. So you got blue, brown, dark, green. I'll just kind of run through them real quick for you. You got dark, which dark is my go-to. That's my favorite one. And then you got green, which I've used green a little bit in the past. But for this one, we'll go with dark. That's my favorite. So right click, rebuild terrain. And there we go. So that's a little bit of rivers. Now if I jump back up to water, we touched on that in the last video. So what water is it's the foam and the speed. So what we'll do is I'm not going to build a river, so I'll just show a little bit of it here. Alright, so you want to come up here and where it says speed, switch it to speed, and you can put the value on however fast you want it to go. We'll just go up to 75, just make a line down through it. Let's just pretend this is a little river for now. And then click on speed again and switch to foam. And you can leave it right on 75. Like I said, I'll touch on this better when I do the advanced tutorial with water. I like to hit randomize when I do foam and just kind of go right over the top of it. 75 is way too much, but I just want to give you guys an example. So if I click it, now you can see, now we got running water in the middle of our pond, which looks silly, but hey, it's just a tutorial, right? And if you mess up, same thing, just slide this all the way down, uncheck that, and just go ahead and erase it. And go to speed and do the same thing. You can erase it that way as well. Just like that. So we'll right click, rebuild, and save. Alright, and so the last thing I'm going to show you is trucks, which is very easy. Just right click, add a truck. And there you go, there's your little truck. And then come down here in the bottom corner. So the first press right here, this will pick the kind of vehicle you want. So this is what you're going to start with in the game on your map. I'll just pick the Blazer. You can see it switched to the Blazer. This is if you want to add a trailer to it, which I never do because I'm right at the spawn. If I want to put a trailer on it, I will. And add-ons, excuse me. If I'm spawning the truck this close to the garage, I'm not going to add add-ons. But you got to make sure you obviously are adding the add-ons that go with this vehicle, which is this for this truck. But we won't do it because I'm so close to the spawn, I can just do it anyway. So now I'll slide this over. And this is where it'll be parked. And, oops, last but not least, you come down here. So this few things here, you don't have to worry about position and rotation. Land, if you can either have it on the land or hovering above, which I don't know why you would, just leave that alone. You can make it start with damage. You can make it start with not a full tank or a full tank, however you want it to be. I usually obviously leave damage, and I leave both of them alone if it's at the spawn. If I spawn something far away, I usually make it a little damage, a little gas. And then locked, you want this set to false. And active, you want this set to true. Now, everything, let me explain this big circle. So when you switch this to true, what this is going to do is anywhere in this circle, the vehicles or the garage will be unlocked. If I go just like this, just out of that spawn, this garage will be locked and you'll have to unlock it in the game. So as long as it's within this circle around the spawn, you're all set. So I'll just leave this over here. And for the hell of it, we'll just add another quick truck. I'll switch this to, we'll just go with the forward this time. No add-ons, no trailer. Locked, no. False, and I'm going to leave active false because I want them to start in this truck. But I mean, you can start in either truck when you go into the game. But we'll put the Ford over here. like so. We'll right click, we'll rebuild, and we'll save, and we are all set for this video. I went a little further than I wanted to. I didn't want to go up this high. Real quick, you're probably asking about references and roots. References, now all that is I can save this as a reference, and I can start a brand new map, and I can load this, what we just built right here, into another map. It's like a reference, it's like a save. So you can carry this spawn to all your maps if you want to. But I think references are stupid. I've never used them. If I'm going to build a brand new map, I'm going to build a brand new map. I'm not going to use bits and pieces of maps that I made in the past, if that makes sense. You know, I don't use references. And as far as roots, I don't have a clue what that is. I've never messed with that. If I go ahead and right click and add root, it puts this weird thing here, which I've never used this. Maybe we'll try to learn this together throughout these tutorials. I'll mess around with it and see what it is exactly. If somebody knows what it is, comment down below. I'd love to know what it is. But I'll mess around with it as we get going. So one more time, I'm going to rebuild and I'm going to save. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. But moving forward, we're going to start doing advanced tutorials. I'm going to focus on one thing like mud. I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks that I do with mud. Then I'll show you all the tips and tricks I do with materials, rivers, all of the individual stuff. I'll also give you some links to some models so we can start learning how to use custom models and all that good stuff moving forward. So again, I apologize for the length of this video, but if you guys stuck around this long and enjoyed this video and it helped you out, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I will talk to you guys again real soon.
They say that I've lost it.